Hi guys, welcome back to TOEFL with Juva. Today I answer a question for Task 2 in TOEFL Speaking. First, I'm going to tell you what Task 2 is about and what you need to do to get a high score, and after that I'm going to answer the question exactly as I would do it in the TOEFL. By the way, if you want to get more tips for the TOEFL and download templates, subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss the next video. Let's get started. Let's first have a look at the task. What is Task 2 about? In Task 2, you first read an article or a notice that talks about a change and that gives reasons for this change. For example, this can be an article of a university newspaper or a notice on a notice board. After that, you'll listen to a conversation between two persons, and one of the speakers will talk about her opinion regarding the article or the notice, and she will give reasons to support her opinion. Your task is to talk about the opinion of the speaker and to state the reasons that the speaker gives for her opinion. Sometimes you also need to summarize the announcement. In TOEFL Speaking, you have 30 seconds to prepare your answer and 60 seconds to speak. This means that you will be under time pressure. Task 2 is quite challenging, and that's why you should definitely have a good time management. What do you have to do if you want to get a high score in Task 2 in TOEFL Speaking? You must give a well-structured answer that addresses all important points. In order to do that, I can highly recommend using a template. Why should you use a speaking template? Guys, a speaking template is a lifesaver. If you use a template, this means that you will memorize sentence starters for Task 2 before you take the TOEFL. And this is an amazing help because this means that when you are taking Task 2 in TOEFL Speaking, you won't need to think about how to start your sentences because all that is already in your head. And this saves you a lot of time, which is awesome because, as I said, you only have 30 seconds to prepare your answer. This is not enough time to think about how you want to start your sentences and which words you want to use. You need these 30 seconds in order to think about the most important key points that you want to address in your answer. Also, a template makes you more confident because when you're taking the TOEFL, you know that you already know which expressions you can use to start your sentences. And if you are nervous in the TOEFL, this is particularly helpful because you have something that you can rely on. If you need a template for TOEFL Speaking, check out my video about that. In this video, I show you the template that I created for my TOEFL. You can find the link to this video in the description below. The second thing that you need to do if you want a high score in Task 2 in TOEFL Speaking is to structure your answer. You must deliver a well-structured answer that makes it very clear what you are talking about. So let's have a look at how you should structure your answer for Task 2. First, you need to state the change that the announcement is talking about. And now, this is very important, guys. If the question asks you to provide a quick summary of the announcement, you should state the reasons that the announcement gives. If the question only asks you to talk about the opinion of the speaker and the reasons the speaker provides, then you don't have to provide a summary, but you should nevertheless talk about the reasons that the announcement gives. However, you should do it in a different way. And I'm going to show you how you can do that later when I answer the question of Task 2 in the ETS practice test. After that, you should go on with the transition. This means that you tell the listener what the speaker thinks of the announcement, whether she has a positive or a negative attitude about the announcement. And then you need to talk about the reasons the speaker gives in order to support her opinion. The third thing you should do if you want a high score is you should use a broad range of vocabulary. This means that you should use a lot of different linking words such as first, second, however, or thus, and that you should use different verbs when you talk about what somebody says. So don't always use to say if you want to talk about what a person is saying, but also use verbs such as to state, to argue, to point out, and so on. Now, let's have a look at the first task 2 in the ETS practice test. You can find the link to this test in the description below. What is this task about? The announcement states that the university's sculpture program will be discontinued, and the announcement gives 2 reasons for that. And then there is a transcript of a conversation between 2 students regarding the announcement. In the TOEFL, you will listen to this conversation, but in the ETS practice test, you have to read the transcript. If you have a look at the transcript, you can see that the female student is not happy about the announcement, and she gives 2 reasons to support her opinion. Now, let's have a look at the question. The question asks you to talk about the woman's opinion and to state the reasons that she provides in order to support her opinion. Many of you have asked me, how do I deal with such a question that does not ask me to give a summary of the announcement? As I said before, when I talked about the structure of your answer for task 2, if the question does not ask you to summarize the announcement, you simply state the change that the announcement gives, and then you go directly to the opinion of the speaker and the reason he or she provides. However, you should nevertheless include the reasons that the announcement gives for the change, but you should do it in a different way. You should not state it directly after you talked about the change. You should insert it in a logical way when you talk about the reasons that the speaker gives. I am now going to give my answer to this question exactly as I would do it in the TOEFL. I'm going to talk a bit faster because this is how I would talk in the TOEFL. The announcement states that the university sculpture program will be abolished. The woman had a negative attitude about the notice and opposes it for 2 reasons. First, she claimed that the low participation rate in the optional sculpture classes is due to the fact that art majors have to take too many compulsory courses which consume all their time. Thus, the university's argument that students are not interested in sculpture courses is not valid. If the university changed the requirements, more students might participate in the sculpture program. Second, she pointed out that the university would not need to employ a full-time professor, since a part-time professor could be hired, or one of the painting teachers whose secondary field is sculpturing could offer sculpture classes. The university's argument that it's not financially reasonable to employ a new full-time professor is therefore not well-founded. That's it. That's my answer to this question. I am now going to show you why I answered the question in this way. First, you need to provide a fully developed answer. So let's have a look at what I did. I started with the change that the announcement is talking about, that sculpture courses will be discontinued. Then I went directly to the opinion of the woman, because that's what the question asks you to do. When talking about the reasons that the woman gives for her opinion, it's important that you also provide the reasons that the announcement gives, because the woman's reasons are connected to the reasons of the announcement. For example, the woman states that the university's argument that students are not interested in sculpture courses is unfounded. The problem rather is that the university requires the students to take so many compulsory courses that they don't have the time to take optional courses such as sculpture classes. So as you can see, the woman's argument refers directly to the reason given in the notice, and that's why you should mention this reason in your answer. Let's have a look at the structure I used. I used exactly the structure that I showed you before, and I used a speaking template. The speaking template made it a lot easier for me to answer this question because I already had the structure in my head and I knew how to start my sentences, so I didn't need to think about that. Also, I wanted to make sure that I use a broad range of vocabulary. So as you can see in my answer, I use different linking words such as first, second and thus, and I used different words for to say, and as you can see, I also used more complex grammar because I used an if clause here. If clauses are not so easy, and that's why you get points if you use them. So if it makes sense to use an if clause in your answer, you should definitely do that. That's it. This is how you answer Task 2 in TOEFL Speaking. I hope this video was helpful to you guys. If it was, please hit the like button so that I know. And if you have any questions or a video wish, tell me about that in the comments below. And if you want to get more tips for the TOEFL and download templates, subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss the next video. I'd love to see you here next time. Bye bye!